Hi there mummies, thank you for tuning in again. My name is Kate and I'm a women's health physio, and I've got a number of videos focusing on your postnatal recovery. So this video is focused on diastasis rehab. So for those that maybe have already had a check, then you can maybe skip this first minute of intro. But for those that are maybe wondering what it is, do I have it and what does it mean, then let's have a little chat before we get on to the exercises. So a diastasis will happen in 100% of women reaching full-term pregnancy. It is an excessive stretching of your midline, which is a connective tissue. It's not necessarily muscle, and it isn't ligament or tendon. It is a connective tissue that runs right from the base of your ribs all the way down to your pubic bone, and either side of that is your six-pack muscles, which you'll recognize from people that are very well toned. And it's that line that stretches. So I don't like to think about a split. It is more of a stretching than a separation. Your abdominals will stretch as much as your belly needs it to. The body is amazing like that, so it is not a bad thing. It is only concerning if it causes you issues, and that's where still the evidence is still a little bit grey of whether we can blame that or not. It is a natural part of what the body is going to do when you are putting a huge amount of pressure or stretch through it. So like I say, 100% of women will have this at week 37 of their pregnancy, and they say that 1 in 3 women will continue to have a gap or a separation following delivery at that 3-month mark. So one thing to be aware of is that rehab for this requires a really individualized program. So although I'm going to give you a very generalized exercise program here, it is recommended that you do seek assessment, and there is definitely no one-size-fits-all program. And rehab depends on your presentation and your body and how it responds and what your goals ultimately are. So for some women it is very aesthetic, and that is okay, don't feel guilty. Some people, they want to get back running, and some people want to get back to higher intensity or lifting or sport. And so it depends on what you want out of your body to what exercises you then have to do for rehab. Now the risks is what concern most people. So a lot of people are told, and I've just done a wee Google as well, and it is quite scary, the first things that pop up with diastasis, what exercises are best and what exercises are recommended to avoid. So please ignore a lot of what you find on Google, and do make sure that you go to some recognised sources, professionals. So a lot of people are scared that they're going to make it worse. Now, be reassured that your body is amazing, and it has gone through this massive stretch, and it has done that through 6-9 months of expanding belly. It wants to do that, it has to do that. It is doing that to protect the rest of your body. The risks of anything worsening are very, very slim. The risks of having a diastasis after your first child is higher. If you have very poor lifting technique, or you are lifting very heavy, you are at chance of making it worse. Also, genetics plays a massive part. Diet and nutrition plays a massive part. Chronic straining, so whether that is chronic coughing like asthma or smoking, having a bad cold, or constipation is possibly going to make it worse. And when you think about those activities, it's about putting a lot of pressure, downward pressure and outward pressure. And also excessive abdominal loading. So ultimately, the only way you are going to strengthen a muscle, and in these terms, if it resonates more with you, bring the abs back together, is by loading the tissues. So exactly the same if you twist your ankle and you overstretch a ligament, or you you have a shoulder injury and like a bicep tear or something like that, the only way you're going to fix that muscle is letting it heal. The body is amazing like that. It will recover over time. But to then be able to make it functional and do the things that you want it to do, you're going to have to teach it to do that again. And then if you want to be able to strengthen and build that muscle, you are going to have to load it and work on these strengthening exercises. So these are the very basic level 1 stuff first, and I'll do some other videos that are really focusing on this bringing back the muscles. But I don't like to think of it as fixing it, because it is not necessarily broken. Let's start down on our backs, having a little exercise of how to check for it. So try and get yourself into a nice neutral spine to begin with. So pubic bone on a spirit level with the base of your ribs. And that might mean a slight arch into your spine there, but that's okay. So at rest, completely with your abs nice and floppy, I want you to have a feel with both fingers, and you're digging down into your midline and having a feel down, and it should feel soft, it should feel squidgy, because we're not asking it to contract yet. For some people that have hernias, now that is just a separate issue where that has been a split in the muscle. So having an assessment for that is definitely recommended, and that is again where possibly you could make that worse. So a hernia is where there is literally a hole in the tissues, and when we start loading it, you either have very excessive doming around that area, or you cannot feel a tension at all and your fingers are really sinking in deep. So holding this position here, what I want you to make sure of is that you don't tilt your spine. Okay, don't engage your glutes, don't squash the back. Keep it nice and level, and what you're going to do is lift your head. You can support your neck if you wish, lifting your head up and holding it here. Now around here you should feel like that has created a tension on that rectus abdominis, which is those six-pack muscles, those superficial muscles that go down either side of your belly button. Now, like I say, most people will still have a little valley or a little crater, and it might be above belly button, around belly button, or slightly below. So it's just recording that and feeling how deep that goes. Okay, now again, it might feel a little bit icky to begin with, but you'll start getting used to it, and it's knowing what is normal for your body, and especially when you start to strengthen it and still being able to measure or test it. So having a feel of the gap, okay, how deep is it, how squidgy is it, and how wide is it? Now we often talk about finger width or centimeters, but being aware that 3 fingers is not 3 centimeters in most people. Okay, so next time you lift up, what I want you to think about is trying to harden that gap. So as you lift your head, how can you create added pressure there that's going to engage more that deeper core? Again, making sure that you're not then squashing your back. Okay, so lifting up the head, can you engage your deeper abdominals, bringing those hip bones together, gently sucking belly button in, but not literally pushing it down, and hopefully you can feel that that tightens. 2 extra tips to create more tension is adding the breath. So again, imagine that you are sneezing and you are exhaling, and that's going to create this outward pressure. So I want you to bring the tummy button in as you blow out and lift the head. Can you feel that harden? Work on that a couple of times. And this is where the breath comes into it quite importantly, because if you are inhaling, you are creating pressure. When you are exhaling, you are controlling it and exhaling rather than bellowing or bearing down. Okay, and then the second tip is to add the pelvic floor to that. So always having a feel around here. Right, engage those deeper abdominals as you lift your head. Now blow out. Now add the pelvic floor lift. Now hopefully you felt like that's tightened even more. It's become harder and you're not able to get that huge depth or squidginess anymore. So working on that together, putting them all together, and if you're getting lost here, just break it down again and focus on one thing at a time. Exhale, lift. Lift pelvic floor, hopefully it gets harder. Inhale, release. Release the pelvic floor, inhale. Exhale, belly in. Lift, lift. Inhale down. Exhale, tightening all the way from those upper abdominals, mid, down into your lower. Now again, an individualized program is going to be more beneficial. But if I just say, right, let's just do 10 reps, aiming for 10 reps, looking for quality movement. Inhale down, exhale, rise, 3, 4. Now, if you feel like things are starting to shake, you're not getting this contraction anymore, you've perhaps met your limit already, and just working at those 4 reps, 5 reps, have a little rest, and then go again. Or if you feel at 10, you're thinking, yeah, I can do this, I'm not bellowing, I'm not starting to squash my back, I've got a good tension underneath my fingers, and I'm getting that coordination between pelvic floor and exhale, then you could probably start to add reps or go on to the next level. Okay, so in this position, in this nice neutral Pilates-based position, we are working those deeper abdominals. Now I do want to actually work into a sit-up or crunch. Let's put both hands behind our head as we start to squash the back and lift. Now that is working more into your superficial muscles, but you've got to target both, okay? And you might feel that your gap actually changes in different positions. So working your deeper core, it is known that the gap can actually widen, but the depth hardens. That's okay. Working your superficial muscles by squashing and crunching can cause the superficial muscles to come closer together, which is also a good thing. We want to load the muscles, okay? So in whatever way that works, there is not a bad exercise. So when you hear don't do sit-ups and don't do planks, you can modify them and you build up to them, but they are not bad exercises. So crunching, let's try 10 here. Squash the back, still keeping the chin off the chest. You're looking up into that 45-degree angle, using the breath, release pelvic floor, and then engage pelvic floor. So either hands behind your head or sliding up to the top of your knees. But we are crunching, we're bringing the ribs down. And you'll maybe feel that harder because you're able to recruit a little bit more muscle. 3 more here. Now again, challenging these muscles and working on a different plane of movement. So we're going back into this neutral spine and we're going to lift one leg up into 90 degrees. Again, making sure that that doesn't cause us to pelvic tilt backwards. Okay, keep that nice neutral spine. Ribs down, palms by your side, dropping this knee out to the side on the out breath and bringing it back in. Again, having a feel around the middle if you need. Inhale together, exhale, consciously tighten, tighten, control the hip and bring it back. Inhale. So we're working on the diagonal now. You're feeling that oblique pull from one base of the rib all the way down to the opposite hip, keeping that static D nice and steady. And we'll do 3 more here. We'll switch the legs over, taking the other hip up. And this is good for hip mobility as well. Neutral spine. Exhale as you drop it out. Control. Together. So I'm always putting the abs, the breath, and the pelvic floor together. And then you get your recovery all in one package, as well as the most important things of nutrition and sleep, obviously. 3 more. And rest that foot back down. Let's just roll up for a stretch, palms down, squash the back, peel up into your bridge, up onto your shoulder blades. And again, a nice position for working your glutes, but also to give your abs and hip flexors a little bit of a stretch. Roll it down, articulating the spine, upper back, lower back, arch. Squash the back, squeeze back up. Pressing palms down, squeezing shoulder blades, and rolling back down. Okay, set yourself back into that neutral spine, into our scissors. So keeping hips, feet hip width apart, palms by your sides, keeping the shoulders down. A lot of people, when they're trying to grip here, will grip up here too much. So keep the shoulders away from the ears. As you engage the tummy, just lifting one knee up to 90 degrees. Put it down, switch over. So this is called your scissors or your marching. Just alternating the legs. Release as the legs come down. Make sure you fill the belly and you let the pelvic floor open or release or relax. As you exhale, draw belly button in. So just that split second before you move, you are tightening. Inhale. Tighten and lift. Again, always having a little feel, what is my belly doing? And if you feel like you're lifting and then that gap is becoming a little bit squidgier or deeper, then just consciously engage that little bit tighter and then release. Now what I often find, we'll do another 5 here, is that actually these easier ones, it's sometimes just slightly difficult to assess what your belly is doing. When we challenge it a little bit more, it's a bit more obvious about how much the diastasis or the abdominals can cope. So one last one here, and then we're going to take it into a double tabletop. One leg at a time. Lift one leg. Now without squashing your back, engage this more. You're going to lift the other leg up to the same position. Drop one leg down. Lift it up again. Now, if that is too much for you, your back maybe start to arch, you're maybe shaking, you maybe start to bellow through your belly, and you're just saying, no, that feels too much. That's fine. Go back to your single leg scissors, okay? But at least you've tested it and you've found a limit. If that feels okay, engage, blow out. Don't squash the back, but make sure that you're not giving either. Bring those ribs down, drop one leg. Inhale, exhale, engage, lift. Inhale, release. Exhale, bring it up. And down. So then you're working your scissors from an up starting position. Alternate the legs. Now again, this is a very safe position. We are not loading the pelvic floor. We are not creating a huge amount of pressure. We need to start challenging the abdominals more into functional positions, standing, bending, lifting. So start on the mat and just get that coordination. 3 more here. And know what you're feeling for. And 1 more. And rest both feet down. And again, if you feel like your back is maybe tensioning a little bit, just release it off with some nice pelvic tilts. And then we're going to get the arms involved. So back into this nice neutral position. Hands up to the ceiling. Squash those shoulder blades down and try and maintain that position. Now we're going to float the arms behind you. Try and avoid overarching the spine and then bringing your ribs up. Okay, you shouldn't be able to get your fingers under your ribs. So try and engage those upper abdominals and flatten your shoulder blades against the mat. Inhale up, fill the belly. Exhale, tighten. Now it may look like quite an easy exercise, but I want you to really focus on bringing the ribs down, tightening up the abdominals as you float the arms back. Inhale up, add the pelvic floor, squeeze, lift, and return. So what we're doing here is actually lengthening the abdominals. You should feel a nice stretch coming up the side, but creating tension at the same time. Now, if you've worked with a lot of weight training before and you understand the concept of eccentric training, then you'll know that that actually works the muscles harder because you are lengthening under load rather than shortening and contracting. So we're going to add a leg to this, floating the arms back, but then sliding one leg away off the floor if you wish, and bringing it in. So you should feel how that creates lots of tension into your mid, but it's not the same as a crunch, it's lengthening it away. Again, making sure that we're not overarching, keeping the back down, and I'd rather you were squashing into the mat than letting it arch off. So we're going for full multitasking here. Stretch the arms, one leg, blow out, tighten through the middle, inhale back. Switching the legs, and if you wish, just having a little feel. Am I getting those upper abdominals, ribs down? Am I creating a nice hardening around the belly button and down a bit lower? So also by getting the legs involved and lengthening them away, you're creating a nice self-mobilization through any lower C-section scars. And what I found is those muscles in the lower abdomen can get really quite lazy. So it's just creating blood flow to the area. That's the first thing we want. One more each side. And release. Let's put hands by our sides and just rock the knees over and to the other side. And whatever way is easiest, rolling over onto our hands and knees and coming into a 4-point position. So my little motto is always release before you restore. So we don't want to tighten and strengthen into an already protected, tightened position. We want to release with some nice stretches, massage, heat, whatever works for you. So just curling the back into our nice cat-cows. Create lengthening the spine. And again, I'm exhaling as I'm drawing belly button in, engaging pelvic floor, rounding the upper back. One more here. Okay, we're going to do some hip extension. So you'll feel it working into your glutes. But again, really focusing on this middle position. So hands underneath shoulders, drop them away from your ears, knees underneath hips, and keep them just an equidistance apart. You're going to take the weight over onto your left knee as you start to extend your right. Keep your toes on the floor and feel how your belly button is drawing in. Now, a lot of people like this position because they can feel themselves drawing in against gravity. Bring it back in, release, inhale. See how my belly drops as the air fills, and then exhale. Stretch the other leg away and bring it back. So you'll feel this working in around your lower back, strengthening into those deeper core muscles there. But like I say, also just physically drawing belly button in off the mat, but we're not arching. Okay, keeping the pelvis nice and stable. As you exhale, straighten the leg away. Bring it in, other side, and in. Okay, and then again, challenging it a little bit more with a lift. So exhale, lengthen, lift, down, and inhale. Other side. And back. Keep going here. Don't lift the leg higher than the hip. Going with your breath rate, so you're focusing on that exhale, lift. Feel your tummy having to tighten as you're controlling the balance. And the other side. Into your full Superman. Stretch the leg, lift it, and start to peel up the opposite hand. If you're holding that balance quite nicely, stretch the arm away. Breathe. And then bring it back in. Same the other side. Lengthen, lift. Take the hand up, get the balance, lengthen, control. Feel how this middle area is definitely doing the work. Let's do one more each side. Soften the shoulders, draw belly button in tighter, squeeze through the back glute. And one more time. Lengthen toes away, keeping a nice tightness through the core. And back down. Working slightly harder now into our knee plank. So I'm not a big fan of full planks, but the knee plank is more functional because we're down in this sort of position a lot. We're reaching for things, we're having to lift baby in this sort of position. So let's keep our knees down, take our hands slightly further forward and start to draw the hips in as you slot the shoulders back. Inhale, release off, hips nice and high. Exhale, draw them in. And again, you should feel that immediately tightening in around the abs. And release. Okay, focus, concentrate on drawing belly button in, ribs down, soften the shoulders. Inhale off, exhale in. So ideally, shoulders in line with hips and feet. Try not to sink the tummy, okay, because then you're stretching it and you're not able to engage your abs. So make sure that the hips are higher rather than lower, okay? A couple more here. But again, a nice one that starts progressing quite quickly into perhaps a leg extension or a hand lift. Working on reps first and then making it slightly harder. So building the endurance of the muscle. And again, you want to take it to the point where you're perhaps just starting to feel a burn or a slight shake, and then rest off. Nice wide knees into a nice long child's pose. Drop in the elbows, head down. Okay, another one in my plank progressions is your hover. You're going to come back into 4-point, tuck the toes under, and what you're going to do is lift your knees up. A lot of pressure needed here, so make sure that you engage that split second before you lift. We're going to exhale, tighten, push through your toes, lift your knees, and drop it back down. Exhale, lift, and back down. So where is the tension? Do you feel it in your wrists? Are you too far forward? Do you feel your shoulders coming up? Can we slot them down? Strong through your feet, strong through your thighs. Lift and down. Lift and down. Go with your breath rate. Blow out and down. Add the pelvic floor. Squeeze and down. 4 more. Well done. Now that's a hard one because it's challenging a lot of other parts of your body. Your torso, your core isn't moving, okay? We're just creating a lot of pressure. So again, it's a good one to challenge, but these ones that involve a lot of movement or arms or legs are actually a bit more functional. So we're going to come round into sitting, okay? Again, a common position, whether you're getting down into your bed, whether you're lifting and feeding, whether you're trying to get off the sofa. So these positions again are really important to be able to engage your abdominals in. So imagine we're sitting on the sofa and we're wanting to sit back. First of all, hold onto your knees and we're going to curl. So we're just slumping and squashing. But again, you should feel like your abs have just turned on there. Inhale, sit up. Exhale, start to curl from your lower back first, round your upper back, feel your abs turn on there, and inhale up again. Again, a good one, feeling that downward pressure, so can we squeeze pelvic floor against it, and then release as we come up. So you can go down as far as you're comfortable. You can start to let go of the knees if you're able. But you're working within the range that you are in control. Your back's not starting to hurt. You've maybe got a slight quiver on. Okay, working again into a slightly different plane. We're going to go down to the right side and just touch the floor. So as if you're picking something up, and then over to the other side, and up. And again, this progresses quite nicely into holding a weight. I can imagine it's probably your baby before you start lifting any dumbbells. Okay, but you're feeling that engagement with a twist, so we're having to engage a little bit more through our obliques. Use the breath. And up. Same again. Good. One more each side. And release. Okay, sitting nice and tall just for a wee stretch. Rise up and then curl forward, stretch the arms, head down, rise up again, down to one side, so we're opening up through the ribs and down into those obliques, other side. Good. Forward once more, round the back, And press your palms down so that you can extend this time. Extending is okay, stretching the abs is okay. Again, it probably feels quite nice to do that from being stuck and tightening and protecting the back. So do lengthen, do stretch, try and mobilize as much as you can. I hope that was useful. And like I say, that is very early stage. Really what we do recommend is getting up, exercising and standing into these squat and lifting positions, which will be another video to come. Okay, bear in mind that this intra-abdominal pressure that I talk about, it's not a scary thing, and the evidence shows that doing a downward dog is actually more pressure than doing a sit-up, but getting up off the sofa is more pressure than a sit-up. So when they say don't do sit-ups because it will make your diastasis work, it's a load of codswallop, because mums have to get up and down 1,000 times a day. So you are working it even when you're not really thinking about it. But the next time that you are getting up off the sofa or going down into bed or picking up baby, just add that little out breath and engagement, and you should help feel it knit back together a little bit. Okay, any more information required or personal individualized assessment, please get in touch. That's still happening online if you want.